Good morning, round two. Monday morning. Hope you're all well up at Boddington. Power in the waterfall this morning's incredible. It's actually quite intimidating, the force that's coming off it. Good morning. Round two, take two. Laugh out loud, I know. It would appear that because of the rain on the touch screen, it's causing it to finish early. Right, let's get it going. Good morning. Good morning. Waterfall's immense this morning. I don't know how long this is going to go for because it's teeming down with rain, and the rain seems to be causing the screen to close over on us, right? So I'm just going to rally on through it. So one of the challenges around about doing these vlogs was, it was something that I didn't like doing. It was something that I didn't like. I didn't like to hear or see myself on a camera. And the other thing was, it was about improvisation. It was about learning to be a little bit more fluid and learning to think on my feet. So none of these vlogs that I've been doing over the last few months, 3 months, through lockdown have been prepared. And this morning certainly wasn't prepared. And I've called it What's in Your Backpack. And what's in my backpack? Well, I've got probably, I'm guessing, somewhere between 12 and 15 kilos in my backpack this morning, okay? And the reason I've got that in here is because I'm training, because we're going off, we've set a challenge that on the 3rd of July, we're leaving to walk the West Highland Way and do it in 3 days. That's roughly 33 miles a day, 32 miles a day, say, right? I like the sound of 33 better than 32, but day one we're doing close to 40, 30, 36 or thereabouts. And then thereafter, we'll split those days up. So, out I came this morning for the first time in my training with a full backpack on. And oh man, if you could have got inside my mind this morning. But this is my thoughts, this is what I was thinking. So I've got this heavy backpack on and all the feelings of I'm not going to be able to do this. It's the first time I've actually felt what it's like to have my backpack full before the actual event. And I'm watching my mind in negativity, and I'm watching my mind thinking about, might as well just give up now, there's no point starting, you're never going to be able to finish, and all that kind of stuff, right? But looking at my backpack, this weight that I've got on my back, on my shoulders right now, as a metaphor, right? So this is where my thoughts led me this morning. So I've got this backpack on my back, and it's pretty much got the majority of it to be my essentials, okay? So I've got a sleeping bag, I've got a tent, I've got a stove, right? And the rest of it is food and my clothes, etc, etc, etc. So the backpack is taking up hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So I've got this backpack on my back. But what is essential that's in it? Well, I've got my maple syrup, because I like my maple syrup in my breakfast, because I like my maple syrup in a coffee, right? So as I'm walking along and I'm feeling the weight on my backpack, I'm starting to think what is essential and what is not essential, right? Also, what I noticed was that the longer I've walked with it, the more accustomed I have become to it, right? And the other thing about it is the level of weight that's on my back, that's on my shoulders, that's in my backpack. The funny thing is, it's not my upper body that's feeling the strain and the stress of what's in the backpack, okay? So I started to notice that I have got a pain in my right calf. I've started to notice that in my buttocks, there's some pain, and there's a tiny little bit of pain going up my inside of my thigh and my left leg. right? But this backpack and this weight that's on us, okay, could be an accumulation of things that we have collected through our journey of life, okay? And we've conceptualised that in concrete conceptualisation that this has become who I think I am, okay? So when I get to the end of this walk this morning and I take my backpack off, it's going to feel lighter. It's going to feel refreshed. So my thoughts this morning as I've been walking along here is, how can we, if we don't know we've got this backpack on us, right? If we metaphorical backpack that we're carrying the grief, the loss of a loved one, the loss of connection to a younger self, the loss of connection to family, friends, loved ones, people, places and things that have brought us value. Now, as I said, the weight of this backpack is putting stress on my body, right? It's putting stress on my body and it's also putting stress in my mind. Now, mental health is such a huge topic right now. And a lot of us try and overthink and try and think our way through challenges and try and think our way through problems. You know, the majority of people want to understand why they're an addict, why they're an alcoholic, why they feel the way they are, why they do the things they do, why they're acting the way they're acting. Why am I doing that? Because magically somehow they think if they get the answer to that, they'll stop doing it. But sometimes the question of why is just another distraction from stop us actually feeling how we feel and stop doing what we're doing. So I'm using my backpack analogy this morning as a metaphor for life and being weighted down by things that we've accumulated over our lifetime that we don't actually know that we're carrying any longer, because human beings are adaptogens at source. We adapt very, very quickly to our environment and our surroundings. We adapt very well. Now, the thing, if you've been caught in addiction, if you've been caught in depression, or if you've been caught in being overweight or overthinking or any of those things, okay? If you've been caught in that, so say you're 3 stone overweight, you're 15 kilos overweight, you're drinking 6 pints of lager every day, or whatever you're doing, you're using drugs or alcohol, right? So the thing about it is that none of us can actually lose 5 kilos of weight overnight, right? So we don't really get to see in a big hit what it would feel like in our physicality to lose that quickly. Like, we don't go to bed like for me at 115 kilos and then miraculously wake up in the morning and we're 100 kilos. If that were to be the case, I would spring out of bed and I'd be like, wow, I feel completely different. I feel totally more energised and better. I'm finding it getting up the stairs easier and all the rest of it, right? So, for most of us, when we give up a behaviour, it's a slow process on the journey out. And it's also a slow process on the way in. So it's not like we just put 3 stone on overnight. We don't put the weight on that quickly. It's put on very slowly. So, stress, that as I'm gravitating towards Friday, there's a lot of nerves starting to come up. There's a lot of nerves starting to show up. Now, the question that I'm asking myself right now as I'm walking around here is, what is essential for me to have in this backpack? And I can make a conscious choice to start to remove the things that I may be using just to make myself feel a wee bit better. What do I really need? All I really need in this backpack is shelter, a tent, food, and something to keep me warm, my sleeping bag. The rest of the stuff is taking with me the trappings and feel-good factors that my normal world constantly has. And one of the reasons why we're going away to be self-sufficient and walk in the hills and the mountains of Scotland is to get away from the trappings. Yet at some level I'm choosing to take those with me. Now, when I get back today, I will certainly be looking at a way that I can reduce dramatically the amount of weight that I've got in my backpack. Now, the other thing I was thinking about as I was walking along here, and the major difficulty that I've got doing these vlogs in the morning, right, is actually thinking, how can I get out my thoughts that are going on in my mind without any rehearsal, without any PowerPoints, without sitting up and doing notes before the night before? How do I make what I'm thinking relatable to other people, right? And what I was thinking very much about, certainly what I've been thinking about probably for about the last week, and I haven't really noticed it, is lockdown and being released from lockdown. Now, 3 months ago on the 23rd of March, we got put into lockdown. And we were forced very quickly to be with ourselves. But it's a pain that a lot of us seem to have forgotten, because we adapted to it. We either adapted to it well, or we didn't adapt to it at all, and we found other adaptive type behaviours as a way of trying to manage the stress of it. Now, on the way into lockdown, if you remember it, the world closed down and we were forced to be with ourselves, and that was really difficult. And we were edgy at the beginning. A lot of us were edgy, or feeling it, but let's hold it back to me. Sorry, forgive me. I felt very edgy as I started to go into it. And then I noticed a sort of serene calmness. I noticed a sort of calmness around about lockdown. And I started to quite enjoy being with myself. And I found that the world felt different. It felt quieter, cleaner. I noticed that that I felt more connected to nature. I experienced a lot of internal shifts as the way in. Now, very, very quickly or unnoticeably, the world started to come back up again. And I guess my question is, to my friends that I've not been asking them, is, how are you doing? How are you doing? Back to the office today, my backpack is huge. Great, Sharon. Thank you. Right? So, we're coming back out of lockdown now. And I'm wondering what you're noticing. I'm wondering, these are questions that I've neglected to ask my friends and family. Are you feeling more irritable? Has the stress of normal life returned with a bang? Have you found yourself fighting more or getting more nippy? Have you found yourself being more touchy, tetchy? Have you found yourself sitting with a feeling of fear that you can't quite put your finger on? What's going on inside this body, this house that you inhabit? And are you asking yourself the questions that are going to help or hindering you? Because for most of us, there's an emotion going on right now. And rather than actually feeling it and expressing it, it's our natural way of going to do it is either distracting ourselves from it, okay, or indulging it. We're either overeating, over drinking, overcompensating. You know, what habits from lockdown that when you went into it, that you've not accepted, that you may have been overeating. You know, there's a laugh and a joke right now about, you know, you come out of lockdown 5 stone heavier, or you come out of lockdown with a drink problem. And we tend to do that as a society. We tend to make joke of things rather than actually just nail it straight off, right? So, where am I going with this? There's a great quote that's came to me throughout lockdown, and you know, I've never looked it up. I would encourage you to look it up, right? It's about a frog in boiling water. So I'm not going to recite this correctly because it was years ago I heard about it. And throughout lockdown, it was like a mantra that's kept going through my head. But obviously not in the right dialogue because I've never looked it up. But there's a theory that if you throw a frog into boiling water, it'll scream and no bloody hell, this is hot water, right? But there's a theory that if you put a frog into cold, normal temperature water and you bring the temperature up very, very slowly, the frog will not know it's being boiled, right? Now, I've been wondering, is that what's happening to me, right? Is that what's going on? What is actually going on? And the biggest question I'd really like to ask is, why are we not talking about it? Sharon, thank you. I've not got my reading glasses on, but Sharon's wrote terrified, nervous, sad, disappointed, action, to name a few, and remember to breathe. Thanks, Sharon, and thanks for your honesty. How are you feeling? fuck me, it's the only way to describe it. It's like we're starting to come back. We've adapted, we've went in. I'm speechless just reading that what Sharon's wrote, because I don't know Sharon. Sharon's been following these, and Sharon's really honestly wrote that, and it's like, how do I respond to that? How do I respond to that? Where are we at? How are we doing, right? And I certainly don't have the answers. Please don't sit me up here. You know, I'm quite happy if we can find a space. I'll go organise the space and let's get a group, let's get folk together. I'm more than happy to do that, right? But I don't have the answers. I absolutely do not have the answers, right? All I'm noticing, which is going on for me, is there's a level of fear coming up inside me. I think that something's going to happen. You could call that anxiety, although it's not anxiety. The other day there in Scotland, it was really, really warm, right? It was hot, we had a really hot day, but it didn't feel normal. It felt as if I was getting cooked. I felt as if I was just ready to explode inside, right? And I went along my business and I got along with my day. And, you know, there's a lot going on. How are we going to navigate our way through this? And, you know, the old stiff upper lip, old boy, let's get on with it, is not going to get us through this, because it's never worked thus far, right? We're in a pandemic of mental health. Mental health is going through the roof. And people are saying, oh, you know, we've got the answer for this, we've got the answer for that. I don't think anybody's got the answer. I genuinely don't think anybody's got the answer on how to manage mental health. Now, why is that? And I guess this morning has just been a collaboration of thoughts. It's Monday morning. I'm going to be honest, I always find it difficult because I'm an addict, right? When I do these walks daily, and as part of the training course, part of the training regime that we're doing, I'm listening to the boys and they're like, Ross, you need to take a day off. You know, you're walking 8 miles, you're doing 12, 14, 15, 33 miles at the weekend, big man. You need to take a day off when you're training. And I'm like that inside, no, I can't take a day off. I can't take a day off because I can't get started again, right? So I'm accepting, to those that are listening, that I do find a Monday, because I've started taking a Sunday off and I'm not doing any training or exercising. I find a Monday quite difficult to get myself back into flow again. So I'm apologising in advance that this might seem clunky, right? Lots of us are starting to get our way back to the office, to life, to the way things used to be. And I'm genuinely wondering, how are you feeling about it? How are you doing about it? Because when I'm taking the time to notice, I don't think I'm doing that well. Actually, the world's became noisy again. It's feeling polluted again. It's starting to feel that people are very, very uptight and people are ready to blow. It's starting to feel that I'm using a massive amount of energy just to kind of keep it together right now. And I'm genuinely wondering, what's our way through this? Because I don't have it. Now, there's been a massive trauma, right? I'm just going to keep blethering and rambling as I walk, because it's kind of taken my mind off of the fact that I've got 15 kilos in my back, and it's taken my mind off the fact that my mind's going, you're not going to be able to do this. You're not going to be able to do this on Friday. You're not going to be able to do this on Friday, right? But I will, if it means me not going with any backpack and sleeping rough outside. Right, I'm going. Now, there's been a huge trauma. There's been a huge trauma to our financial system, to our economy, to us personally, societally, collectively, individually. There's been a trauma, right? Now, a trauma to me, the way that I view it, rightly or wrongly, argue with me if you like, that's fine. You've got your belief systems, I've got mine. I believe that a trauma comes from a disconnection from self. We've lost a sense of self and who we are, and we become adaptogens. We've adapted very, very quickly to our environment. And that adaptation, you could call in psychology a personality or a persona, right? And maybe, just maybe, maybe after you went through the initial phase, maybe I'm speaking about myself here, when I went through that initial dip, when I went down into the hole of lockdown, okay, and you know, oh my God, the world stopped, shoof, and I'm having to be with myself, and I'm having to sit with myself, and you know, sitting in the house on my own. I think there was 7 days where I never went out of the house. I had enough food to sit in it. I never saw a soul in the flesh. You know, it was difficult. And then I started grooving it. I was like, man, this is pretty cool, right? And I'm asking myself that question. In that moment of lockdown, was that you getting a sense of Ross again? A Ross that wasn't his role at work, or who he thought he was, or, you know, the what you got from the car you drove, or the wee winks or smiles or flirts that you have with the checkout guys or checkout girls, and people looking at what you're wearing and you looking at what they're wearing and all the rest of it. And that just disappeared, didn't it? It just went, gone, right? And if you did manage to get through that without a bottle of Jack Daniels, right, or you snorted your way through it or whatever, and you got a sense of that, I'm just wondering, I'm just curious, if, as we're starting to come back out of that, we're attempting to find the personality or persona that we were using to run the show, to show up at work, to show up in that world, because maybe that's not who we are. Maybe the cars, the driving, the clothes, the personality, who you thought you were, who you think you are, is not necessarily what you are. And you're scrambling to try and find that outfit to wear to get you through the day. Don't know, just rambling thoughts. And it started off with what's in your backpack, right? What's in our backpack? And how much of the stuff that's in it is essential for our growth, our development, for to be in the world, right? Because I can tell you right now, see when I go home today, see the stuff that's in here, I've got to, because there's absolutely no way on this earth that I could carry what I've got in my back for 33 miles every day for 3 days. If I'm going to complete 96 miles in 36 hours, I'm going to have to dramatically reduce what I'm carrying. And I mean that metaphorically, I mean that physically. I have failed because I said that I wanted to lose, say I want to lose 5 kilo as a compensation against the 5 kilos that I may be carrying in my back. And I haven't done that. I'm not going to give myself a hard time about that. But sometimes we're getting to this sort of point, and I'm being very metaphorical here, that maybe the way through this, maybe if we are struggling, is to have a serious look at what's in our backpack, right? And start to take out the non-essentials. So, I'm wishing you a really great morning from a very dreich and wat. I think I'm still in New Lanark, I don't rightly know. The back road's Kitfulbuck, somewhere. And Louise Seater, it doesn't sound clunky, it sounds honest, and sadly it feels like we are supposed to just get on with it and not supposed to feel. Sure thing. So, for those of you that are still listening, those of you that tune in later on, I'm going live with a dude called Chuck Spazzano. He was a coach. I trained with him for a while. And let's see what he's got to say. Topic of tonight's live at 8 o'clock GMT is lifted and being uplifted. And maybe some of that will shine some light on certainly how I'm feeling, how I'm wondering what's going on for each and every one of us. But what's in your backpack? And for me, when I go up the road, it's certainly going to be about the non-essentials and what's going to get me to finish. Because that's the important thing, isn't it? It's about finishing. It's about getting to the end and and getting to the end as effectively as we possibly can. And half of the stuff that's sitting in my backpack right now is luxuries that I don't need, right? And they're luxuries that are weighing me down. So I'm going to be up against boys that are 25 ultramarathon runners. I'm going to be up against a boy that's 14-time West Highland Wear, Appalachian Trail guy, right? And I'm watching my mind already. Nervousness, anxiety, fear around about a challenge. But what I'm doing, for those of you that can understand, life is in a miniature. So on Friday we're doing a challenge. On Friday there's a load of us going off to walk the West Highland Way, 36 hours of walking. We're doing 96 miles in 3 days, right? It has been done. It's no major. But it's major for me, and I'm using this experience come Friday is to look at my life in a miniature and what is vitally important from lockdown onwards. What is the most effective way for me to get through my life with as little baggage as possible, because what I perceive may be happening globally, and as we start to move out of lockdown, I don't believe it's going to be helpful for me to be carrying more baggage than I need to be carrying, and it's time to let go, and that's very, very frightening. So please, private message, let's create a little group. Let's start to get our thoughts and our feelings out there. Let's see if we can get some kind of understanding about how we best navigate the terrain that we are starting to encounter. So, blessings. Blessings. Have a great Monday, everybody. I really do. I wish you all the best. And I hope that's made sense. Right? Have a great day.